Life is sweet. This optimistic phrase can remind us to savor the good things in life. But have you ever considered that everyday life in America may be too sweet? I'm talking about the standard American diet. If you want to enjoy a long life of good health, you must reduce your sugar intake now. I hope to convince you of this truth by explaining the problem of too much sugar in the diet, offering some practical solutions to how you can give up sugar, and exploring the benefits of doing so. So let's begin with the problem of too much sugar. It's actually a two-part problem. So Americans are eating too much sugar. According to the article, Why Sugar is Worse Than Darth Vader by Steve Cam, the average American today consumes the equivalent of 130 pounds of sugar each year. And you may be wondering, well, where does that sugar come from? There are some natural sources of sugar, of course, fruits, grains, dairy products, but most Americans rely heavily on packaged processed foods and fast foods, which are laden with added sugars. There are also some less obvious sources of sugar in your diet. According to the article Breakfast, a spoonful of sugar, just about every processed grain product on the shelf, think cereals, cereal bars, Pop-Tarts, etc., is nutritionally barren. What does that mean? That means that your body does not distinguish a difference between a spoon of sugar and a bowl of processed cereal. 1 in 10 Americans gets 25% or more of their daily calories from sugar sources. We are clearly eating too much. The second part of the problem is how our bodies react to this sugar. So yes, your body was designed to handle a moderate amount of sugar. But when we eat too much, too quickly, too often, we start a negative cycle in the body. So when you have a lot of sugar all at once, your blood sugar level spikes. Your body responds by dumping a bunch of insulin into the bloodstream to level out the blood sugar, and then often your blood sugar will tank because of that. So you're going through this cycle of spike and bottoming out, spike and crash over and over again. And the more often that you put your body through that, the more likely you are to develop a condition called insulin resistance. And according to the article, If Sugar is Harmless, Prove It, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention estimates that over 75 million Americans are currently insulin resistant. Well, since we know that sugar is the problem, what's the solution? You guessed it, reducing the amount of sugar that you eat. So how do we go about doing that? The first step that I recommend to everyone is to really identify the major sources of sugar in your diet. So let's say you drink sugary sodas, and let's say you drink a lot of them, maybe 3 per day on average. You don't have to go cold turkey and cut it all out at once. You can step down. So let's say for the first week, you reduce that to 2 per day, and so forth. Over the second week, down to 1 a day, and eventually you'll have broken your habit of sugary sodas. And that can work for whatever the source of your sugar calories are or is. Let's say that you are hung up on packaged snacks and treats as your source of sugar. Try replacing them with whole, natural food sources for snacks, such as nuts, fruits, vegetables, even some meat snacks are better for you than the packaged things you're going to find on the convenience store shelf. I do want to warn you about natural sources of sugar. You know, fruit juices are marketed as healthy, but in reality, they're just liquid sugar. It is always better to eat the whole fruit than to drink just its juice. So now that we've looked at the problem of sugar and offered a couple of solutions, let's see what the benefits are of reducing your sugar intake. Well, remember how I mentioned insulin resistance earlier. Avoiding or reversing insulin resistance is super important because this condition is linked to multiple disease processes. First of all, it is directly linked to obesity and type 2 diabetes. But there's new evidence that's linking insulin resistance to heart disease. Listen to this. According to an article by Julie Corliss of Harvard Health Publications, a 15-year study found that people consuming 25% or more of their daily calories as sugar were twice as likely to die from heart disease as those whose diets included less than 10% of added sugar. And this occurred regardless of whether the test subject was overweight. There's one other benefit that I'd like to share, and that's one that I have personally experienced by drastically cutting down the sugar in my diet. My taste buds have reset. I used to crave sugary treats, but now if I have a little sugar craving, I can satisfy it with an apple or something that's been sweetened with stevia or some other non-glycemic sweetener. I don't have to have sugary treats. In fact, I don't enjoy them. So to wrap up today, I'd like to thank you for listening as I have explored the problem of too much sugar in the diet, offered you a few solutions to cutting it down, as well as shared a few benefits of doing so. I hope you can see that you need to take action to improve your diet and your long-term health. You can kick the sugar habit, and then life truly will be sweet.